What up, guys? Welcome back to Projekt ZRA. It's Rishiv here with another marathon video number 49, and it's behind the scenes once again. Here we are going to cover some very real topics. We're talking about finance and business and networks and organizations, professional counseling, and so on and so forth. So lots of important documentation, most of which will not be shown in any great detail because we do have to avoid disclosing too much private information. So, well, we're going to make sure we don't disclose any private information, in fact. So, without further ado, I will say that, of course, this is a little bit of a detour from what we've been doing. So, prior to episode 49, we have been covering a lot of stuff behind the scenes with Projekt ZRA. And that was a lot with OBS Studio, with the Discord onboarding, getting a Prism live chat widget to work, and then also touching other communities like Twitch and Patreon and seeing how we can get those things integrated. And then finally, we got most of that out of the way, so we're gonna go take care of this stuff now. Basically, a lot of the real life responsibilities and duties. Okay, outside, external to the project, but is still incorporated into the project because the project is truly an embodiment, symbiosis of myself, an extension of myself digitally into the world, and vice versa, as it extends into me. So without further ado, let's just dive into what I'm going to do. Is just mention very quickly that I do have to be careful with which scenes I display, for example. So I'm going to swap over after very quickly, just talking to you in person over there on the Windows section. I'm going to head over to display. Okay. And so now you can barely see anything outside of inside that Excel spreadsheet, because quite honestly, that one has quite a bit of information that I believe may disclose a little bit of confidential stuff. I believe there's only my a doctor's name in there, but aside from that, that's still a little bit too much, given that it may be in full. So the first thing we're going to knock off is we're going to knock off emails regarding a community center that I've been seeking out, because this community center, as a caseworker, has been helping with the housing crisis that I'm facing right now due to domestic abuse and I wouldn't say violence. It hasn't gone that far, but it's a lot of psychological, social, emotional abuse, manipulation, intimidation tactics, explosive rage, anger, you name it. It's like it's something else. Anyways, I don't want to go too far into that. The point is, here is the email draft that we have. So shown on the side here, just very briefly, it should be well covered up, to be honest. I'll drag it out to see to make sure. So at the very bottom, it should say SPP documents. That's a special priority form for people who have experienced domestic abuse and trafficking and so on and so forth. Heavy topics for sure. Statement itself not required, but the envelope alone with the landlord's address is not enough. However, that was the most I can blah. So I'm reading just tiny snippets in there. There's also included a link to a variety of, well, a directory of the variety of important documentation that will be required to fulfill this application process, alongside the caseworker and the community organization to the municipal government or provincial. And so that's actually a link. This is a pop-out email, for the record, that is basically from Outlook or Gmail, and then inside this email it has a link that I've pasted here alongside with attachments of the documents. But this link here links to the cloud storage, which is where this Excel spreadsheet is. So we're gonna basically toggle between the spreadsheet that's linked to the email that's popped out interface, and then to directly on the web browser with the email. Okay, so we'll just read off the very bottom here. New documents to OneDrive being attached for simpler access. Family physician's medical note testifying to shared address. Utility bill showing shared address of the landlord, and further, as well as accessing stuff from the computers. I recognize there's difficulty for the caseworker to access my documentation. So that's that. And also my accountant, which should probably drop a bit, is usually typically busy, but also has a bit of a personal connection and tie with my birth givers. So I'm trying to just walk away from that because he's not responding anymore. So I'm gonna close that, and that's the first tab. We're trying to get rid of some windows. So after this, we also want to mention briefly, so there's this Excel spreadsheet here. Like I said, there's some stuff here that's quite important documentation. So some classifieds. Luckily, there's not too much being shown here in the way side of names, but I'm going to close it anyways and mention that basically over here on the side is stuff having to do with, for example, my family physician or a doctor specialist, as well as tax documents relating to the birth givers, paternal, maternal. So T4s from insurance companies, as well as from employment companies. So the employer as well as the insurer. And then we also have more stuff, which is mail from directly the residential landlord. We haven't confiscated anything. It's just that we took a photograph of the scan and then we left it back. But basically of the envelope for utility bills. So we're trying to compile as much of the evidence to demonstrate that we are in fact living the same address. And it's something that I have to escape in order to make it out with a healthy, with some sanity, basically. Okay, heavy stuff, but that's what it is. It is what it is. So I'm gonna pause OBS for a second and just, well, no, before we do that, speaking of OBS, pause it. We're definitely going to take advantage of the function on OBS that allows us to pause the video so that we can, and live stream if we were running it, so that we can basically close out the confidential stuff without showing it over to the video, right? And then we don't have to edit a video too much afterwards. But before we get to that, since we're talking about OBS Studio, which we have shown here very quickly, when it comes to confidential stuff, since we are moving everything to the side here, just want to mention very useful is moving the sources tab over to the right hand side here, which allows me to basically blot out anything if I want to, like the visualization buttons. And just in addition, this allows me to just tuck this over to the side. And so on that related note, when we're talking about streaming and classifieds and privacy, there's also this pop-up widget tab here from the YouTube basically chat overlay that I want to add and integrate over to my video, which I've done, is added as a browser source in OBS Studio. So I'm gonna close this now because there's no need for this anymore. Okay, and so I'm gonna pause OBS Studio and close it, and I'm also going to close the spreadsheet here. All right, we're back. So I had a little pause, sorted out something in my ear, like water in the ear or snot in my ear. It feels nasty, disgusting, but basically it's hard to work when you feel like you have water in your ear. It's got that reverb. Anyways, so we closed the Excel spreadsheet. I had all the important documents, like a directory of the medical note, as well as the address of the landlord who's abusive as well, in addition to my guardians. Well, not guardians, I'm my guardian now, but basically my birth givers. So employment and insurance companies and the T4 tax documents. Okay, demonstrating proof of address. And then we also closed the chat widget that we were using to basically block out the private information. Now instead, in the backdrop, which I can't show you once again, is basically the email. So I mentioned that there was this spreadsheet that was linked to from the email that popped out. So there was a popped out email with the community organization caseworker, and the email that I read in partial that was hidden, many of the private information. And then that links over to the spreadsheet, which we closed. So of course, that all comes from the attachment to the spreadsheet on storage is linked to the email, which is actually on, say, Google Drive or Microsoft Outlook. So in the backdrop, what you see is basically the emails. So I'm not going to obviously run through any of them, but you can see that basically there's my email there, and it's open because I want to remind myself not only that I go there to get the important documentation sorted out and sent over, because it's a Monday now as of the day I'm recording this, and I need to get this emails now sent out to the caseworker. He's been urging me to hurry up. But in addition to that, we also have a bunch of stuff on the side there that reminds me of some important things that I also want to do, such as a online learning from an employment agency, a temporary staffing agency that I have been joined at multiple different of their franchises, has an online learning management system and LMS where I can learn customer service, learn accounting basics, right? So that I can use some of these skills to acquire a more professional job, aside from just like general labor and stocking grocery, supermarket, items. Now, we can actually get rid of that. In fact, I noticed there's also some emails there for the tax accountant I've drafted. So that kind of stuff just covers basically, saying, hey, I gotta break the ice. Listen, this isn't gonna work out. It's been over a month and a half. You just haven't been replying to my text message or my phone calls or my emails. So it must be that you're just dealing with higher profile clients or something else. And for whatever reason, this isn't gonna work out because I gotta get the income tax stuff done really soon. Thanks to because I'm a caseworker, we've got to get the profile, the processing done as soon as possible. So that's why that is actually over there. Okay. Now there's still two more things here above it that's blocking the way, because we're using it to once again just blot out any private information. But this is actually very useful stuff that we kind of closed off regarding Projekt ZRA. So on the notion of serious content matter in this particular video, we also have, for the project, we had some serious stuff. For example, this video talks a little bit about abuse, but we had some previous videos where covered a lot of heavy child abuse and sexual harassments and stuff like that in Reddits, that basically have a lot to do with developmental disorders like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, developed generalized anxiety disorder, depression, right? Lots of difficult mental health issues and all that kind of stuff was basically content that was very relatable for me because I've been going through a lot of that stuff for most of my life as a major theme. Hence why I try to be my own psychiatrist and so on and so forth. But while we're talking about that, those are heavy explicit themes. And so we had this basically cut and copy out of our Excel spreadsheet. We typed up, after doing some research, we pieced together what we wanted to say. So here it goes: warning sign, stop sign, and just like an alert. So the following, in bold with spaces, warning: the following media content contains material disturbing to some audiences and mature themes that may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. So it reminds you back of the 90s, and then we segue into something that's helpful. If you are experiencing signs or symptoms of distress, please call or contact your local emergency crisis hotline. If you reside in the USA, United States of America, consider calling the National Blah Prevention Lifeline. I can't say that particular word. It will be blocked on YouTube at 1-800-273-TALK or 8255. Or text HOME to 741-741 to connect with a trained crisis counselor. cdc.gov, that's where it's referenced from. And finally, last segue is a legal disclaimer. No part of this medium or material serves as advice or suggestion. It is for creative and educational expression, discussion, sharing of opinion, or personal experiences. Please seek urgent, trusted, professional aid instead. And so we have that kind of disclaimer out. We copied it out because we wanted to actually save it, transfer it over to like a YouTube video, and it was actually inside a spreadsheet at the time, which ends up copying all sorts of formatting symbols over to the YouTube video, which we didn't want to use that. Anyways, or onto Patreon, sorry. And so instead we copied it to Notepad, which doesn't have all the formatting symbols. That's why it's here. In addition, behind it we also have Video Proc, which is what we're supposed to use to extract all the audio files, the basically podcasts from the videos. We haven't gotten to that point yet. It's too far ahead into the future. So we're going to close out this software program since it's taking up RAM or random access memory from my laptop. So I'm going to pause OBS Studio once again. I'm going to close off, most importantly, the email, right? So with all the confidential stuff, tax, as well as, other contact information. And then we'll close out the two interfaces as well. All right, what else needs to go? So we have a lot of professional stuff we need to get through, turns out. And we're probably gonna splinter this into 2 videos, given how much time we've taken to discuss everything up to thus far. It's 15 minutes going in. So in addition to that, we also have to update on the notion of security and privacy. So my antivirus, of course, needs to be updated, and I received notification of that. But what's it blocking as well? So I would usually, this settings tab is usually open for access to the microphone, because sometimes the microphone disconnects. Same thing with the headphones. So we actually have this open because we want to update, but at the same time I recognize if I update it, I may have to restart the laptop, or it's going to be a prompt like that. So as a result, I've decided not to do that, and just leave it here for now. I may end up closing this and just basically allowing it to automatically update on its own will when we're done with all the video recordings. And hopefully it will still maintain all the browser tabs open, so that will all be restored, hopefully. But aside from that, that's the only reason why we have this open. Since I noticed right now we have another tab here for the settings, and that's actually where the mic is, I realize. So in fact, I can really close the Windows security here after I update the security and antivirus, anti-malware. Behind it, however, is another important tab. So that tab behind, and it's probably the last thing we'll cover in this video because it's going on 20 minutes now. And so we're going to close that, obviously. But I think we're just going to end this video as it is, to be honest, because it's just going longer than expected. And I recognize the next couple tabs are going to take a lot more time than I was really anticipating. So with that being said, let me just pause the video, make sure that this is just all I want to cover. So it turns out it's not, and I'm very glad that I actually went to check, because there is in fact something that we wanted to cover, and that's this as well. So we have closed the account spreadsheet, right? That has all the, well, generally vague and encrypted information. And then we also closed off the Windows security, because in the meantime, while I had it turned off, I basically opened my security, and through that security program, I'm having it run an update right now. And so while it's running the update, I can just close off the anti-malware software afterwards. Basically, what we want to do is just cover the last thing here that's related to accounting. And so what we have, because we were discussing income tax, we have here best accounting services from basically a local district, and you can see best accounting services, a directory basically for all businesses. So try to Google or Bing, for example, Markham Best Business Directory, Vancouver Best Business Directory. Help us highlight your business in one of the first directories so online customers will be open to it. And then you can see there's a good listing here. So basically these are all the accounting firms that are available. So Bulgarian Business Network, I'm surprised there's such a thing. Small Business Center, Immigration and Business Counseling, Ceridian, and it goes further down. A lot of these are Chinese as well, so Chang, Chun, and Kong. Charter Accountancy, Chan and Ip. Obviously I've seen down here that they also have like the big accounting firms. And for the record, I think it's really neat that they have all these other photographs of the region on the side, nationally speaking. So we have Eichmacht Krakauer, which obviously sounds like to me is going to be a German accountant. Dutschek and Company, same thing. Eric Chung and Ernst & Young, there we go, one of the big four, right? If we go further down, I'm pretty sure what H&R Block, Amid, so like you have Middle Eastern ones, Standard Caucasian, Harris and Partners, Henderson, right? Jacobson, and go all the way down, you have a whole bunch. I'm just looking for another one. There's another big one. There we go. KPMG, another one. So at this point in Craft Burger, we want to stop. So long story short, there's a whole bunch of addresses and contact information and locations for all these different accountants. Okay. So we have access now to a wide variety of accounting services that we want to get in touch with. Now on the left-hand side, we have basically a bunch of sites here. Site links here to other pages within this website, which is really a directory. So it's super interesting because we have this huge, massive directory of like 70 to 100 different 50 to 70 accounting firms. But then on the left-hand side panel, the navigation leads to microwave repair services, oven repair services, a bunch of different repair services. So it comes to home renovation, and they also have other things here that obviously involve other business services such as air conditioning, pavement, so some infrastructure on a private level, and so on and so forth. So all this really helpful, useful stuff. Contact, best, about us, guest posting services, and request your full page ad. So if you're a business owner, you can actually put your information in here. And here's the about page. So with that being said, that's where I want to end off this MBI Corp, a great website. In fact, I've copied this over to the spreadsheet, not the spreadsheet with the account information, the spreadsheet that has just my general notes for reference. And I think that's where I want to end it, because that kind of covers all the really important stuff that has to do with finance, income tax, organizations, and so on and so forth. Without further ado, I'll see you in the next one. This is peace out from Rajira, and we'll probably the next one cover health related topics. And I see that in a number of tabs over there related to Twitter. So look forward to that. It's something going to be more in lane with my own field, biomedical science, and so on and so forth. Peace.